Hello, I'm Nito Cobain. Welcome to Side by Side. My guest today is a best-selling author, an award-winning singer, and is a former Miss South Carolina. She even competed in the Miss America pageant. Today, she's educating and entertaining audiences worldwide with her charming Southern humor. We're talking about learning through laughter with Jane Herlong.
Funding for Side by Side with Nito Cobain is made possible by...
Here's to those that rise and shine, to friendly faces doing more than their part, and to those who still enjoy the little things. You make it feel like home. Ashley Home Store. This is home.
The Bud Group is a company of everyday leaders making a difference by providing facility solutions through customized janitorial, landscape, and maintenance services.
Coca-Cola Consolidated is honored to make and serve 300 brands and flavors locally. Thanks to our teammates. We are Coca-Cola Consolidated, your local bottler.
Jane Herlong, welcome to Side by Side. I was reading your book this morning. I love the title. Sweet Tea Secrets from the Deep Fried South. What in the world is that?
Well, Nito, thank you for having me. I think people are craving humor, hope, and encouragement. And that's how the book was born. I started thinking about my upbringing and the funny things I learned and the takeaway bits of advice on little sweet tea bags. They did a great job. Tyndall House is the publisher. I'm excited about it. So when you read it, you get a little insight into our Southernisms, which can be really funny. So I love that part.
Give me an example of something in the book.
Well, my grandmother, I have to talk about Grandmother McElveen. She taught me to be strong and don't let people run over you. And I thought she was the sweetest little lady, had clear all blue hair and wore her little cotton house dress and had an intruder. And she had a rifle. And I heard, "Get off my porch." And I heard that rifle cock, and I said, "Where's Grandmama McElveen, that sweet little lady?" And then after the intruder ran off, she came, "Darling, you okay?" And I thought, now there's a strong Southern woman. I like that.
Yes.
So little stories like that, but it's funny.
Yes, that's interesting. And so, Jane, you've taken your Southern humor and your outstanding speaking skills on the platform from coast to coast, border to border. What got you into speaking, and how did you build such a thriving demand in the marketplace?
Well, I have a passion for young people. And it started out, I was labeled everything. I was told I was dyslexic, that I could never go to college, have a low IQ. I saw that one time. I was very discouraged. You're not college material. It just went on. I got tired of that. And I'm thinking, you know what? I will say next to your no, and you watch me. So no one knows what's inside of you but the Lord, in my opinion.
Yes.
And you grow from within. So that's what I did. I said, I'm going to prove every single one of you all wrong. I got an F in writing in college.
Wow. And now you've written several books.
That's my fifth.
Yes.
But then I got to see my professor when I spoke, and I gave him one of my books. I mean, not in an ugly way, but I thanked him because, see, adversity can be our friend many times.
Yes, out of adversity can emerge abundance sometimes. And you went all the way to be Miss South Carolina.
Yes.
And
I love them.
Why did you enter the pageant in the first place?
It was everything I wanted to become, but I wasn't.
Everything you wanted to become, but you weren't. What does that mean?
I wanted to be a good communicator. They stressed that through interview. I wanted to be physically fit and take care of myself. And that would be swimsuit or lifestyle and fitness. Gown is elegance, your branding, and talent. I think we all need to develop talents. That way we can give back. Highest calling is service.
And then you represented South Carolina in the Miss America pageant.
Yes.
That had to be frightening.
It was, but I married her boyfriend, which was a good takeaway.
You married the boyfriend of Miss
Yes,
America?
I stole him. I did. I'll tell everybody, I did not win Miss America, but I married her boyfriend.
I never knew that.
Yes.
Now, did she talk to you after that?
Oh, yeah.
Are you friends?
We're good friends.
Really?
Yes.
Wow. So, Jane, there's some talk sometimes that, these pageants are, they're not respectful of women or I've read about how bathing suits, you know, demeans, you know, the character of persons and so on. What's your take on that?
It was one of the greatest challenges of my life. And I got in shape running down long dirt roads with tractors behind me on the farm, the tomato farm where I grew up. But it was a challenge. And I was proud of myself walking across that stage in that swimsuit. That was a huge monumental accomplishment. So I think what's happened is that physical fitness needs to be stressed in the Miss America system. And they've gotten away from that. I wish they bring it back. I really do.
You've been a judge at many pageants as well.
Yes, and that's wonderful too, just to be on the other side of the table and to get to know these young women. And some of them, it's really about self-improvement, Nito. That's all it is. It's how to be your personal best and to find that best self. And whatever avenue you choose after that, you can be successful. These skills are great. Phyllis George said it's like getting a PhD in people, and I believe that.
You married a very successful husband who's a star in the life insurance business. You've been very successful yourself. You've raised two very successful children. What is it you talk about on the platform? Take us to a platform that you're speaking on this week, and tell us what do you talk about?
Well, I like to share little stories, funny little stories, common stories, and have a takeaway. We have a gentleman in our Sunday school class who was scared to death of boot camp, and he looked on his dog tags and he prayed and he said, God, I need a message. And he opened his eyes and he said, be positive. He saw that. Well, he thought it was a message from God. He didn't know it was his blood type.
Yes.
True story. And he changed. So how do you see yourself? You know, what is it? Zig Ziglar said, whether you think you can or you can't, you're going to be right.
Yes.
So if you're a positive thinking person, good things can happen to you if you keep the right mindset and just get rid of all the negative. That's the challenge.
How do people invite you to speak? How does one build a speaking business?
I think you have to be really good at what you do, and you have to keep up with people because it's noisy out there, it's busy. You've got to remind people that you're out there and you want to help take their folks to the next level. I call it mental wellness.
What would you say, if you're speaking to young people, what would you say is the secret to your success?
Don't let people define who you are. Just keep pushing the envelope. I didn't think I'd be writing. I didn't think I'd be doing comedy or singing or I'm doing theater shows now. I didn't think I'd be doing any of that, but I keep pushing it because I believe when one door opens, there's another door somewhere else. You got to find it.
Don't give up.
Don't give up.
Have grit, be encouraged, believe in the art of the possible. Does your accent help you or does it get in the way?
Oh, it helps.
Even when you speak in the North, in the West, etc.
I bring it on even thicker. I say it's like a leftover pot of hot grits. It gets thicker. People love Southern accents, they do. And some people think, oh, well, you know, my IQ goes down 20 points. No, people are fascinated with the South, and that's why I wrote that book.
Why is that?
I think with stories. We love our stories. We love our family. We love to learn. We have a library of things that we passed on from generation to generation. Some of them might be really crazy. But people need to be reminded of those things. And I love stories.
So Jane, you just told us that you grew up with, you know, somewhat lack of confidence. You were worried. People sort of predicted you will not succeed. You had all kinds of learning challenges and all the rest. And yet you have overcome all of that. And you place yourself on the platforms in front of an audience practically every day, sharing ideas and so on. How did you develop your speaking skill?
Watching great speakers, reading great books, and learning. Never, ever, ever stop learning. The minute you do and you get complacent, you're going to go backwards. You're not going to stay the same. You're going to go backwards because people will pass you and you'll miss opportunities. So hang around good people that do what you do and study them hard.
What is it that, what do you believe are the 2 or 3 tenets, characteristics, skills that a person must have to speak in public, whether it's for a profession as you do it, or whether it's in a company, an organization, in a community?
I think you have to be good at articulating. Your words have to be powerful. Your pauses have to be there, the power of the pause. And, you know, the bottom line is you got to have something to say that people are interested in learning from you, that you can share. People want to know what's in it for me. What's in it for me? So have a takeaway that when someone walks away, they'll say, gosh, I didn't think of it like that. Thank you. And that's the greatest compliment I think you can get on the platform. And serve people. Don't make it about you. If you want to be the star of the show, you've lost your message already. You've got to give back, and you've got to care and love your audience, and they will love you back.
So it's the difference in communicating and connecting, right?
Right.
Anybody can communicate. Not everybody can connect. I always say, you know, all of us have fears, needs, aspirations, and goals. And if you can help people overcome or achieve some of those, you'll sort of give them something that they believe is valuable, meaningful, memorable, etc. You have your own program on Sirius XM.
I do. They play me randomly, and I'm so appreciative of that. And I
Tell
get
us
a lot
about
of
that. How does that work? You record these? Do they take pieces of live performances you have?
Well, as another student of Sirius, I studied, I listened to the great, like Jeannie Robertson, you know, we lost Jeannie this past year, but I love listening to Jeannie. I timed her bits, I listened to the laughter, the pauses, and I recorded every speech, and it was hard. And then I took the speech and I did my own editing. And then I tried to give some kind of funny takeaway, as I always do. And so we're humorists more than comedians because we have stories, maybe a story within a story. So that's how I did it. And then I had another naysayer. I sent it to someone, and they said, "You're not good, you're not funny." And I thought, really? I'm going to change that no to next. And they've been playing me for about 8 years.
Wow.
Yeah, it's been very good.
What does that do for your career?
Oh, it takes it to the next level. It really does. And I was so thrilled when I first heard that I was on. I didn't even know I was on. And so it's been a great opportunity for me to say, hey, y'all, you know, SiriusXM thinks I'm good, and I'm very honored. And so let me share some of that comedy with you and some takeaways.
Now, Jane, you don't only speak, you sing, and you're well known for your singing, and you've done that for many years. Take us on that journey. How did you learn to sing? How did you get the courage to sing in front of large audiences? I've heard you do the national anthem in front of thousands of people, or sing other medleys in front of pretty discerning audiences. How did you develop that, and how do you use that in your speaking now?
I think people love multimedia in presentations and just to drop a song in and where it's most unexpected. But I started studying voice under some very good voice teachers, and I ended up in Radio City and all over, and that's a tremendous honor to sing there. But really what happened was I realized that if I was going to be in the Miss America system and in it to win it as best I could, I had to have a really good talent. So I focused on that. I studied under a lot of people. I even had Debbie Reynolds, who was a Broadway star.
Yes.
I even used her vocal coach at one time. So I went to the experts and people that would say, that's wrong, do it like this. And you listen and you learn and you get better and better. And I still sing all the time. I love it. And I still record.
How do you do it? Do you have a track that you follow? Do you do it a cappella? How do you do it in a speech?
All three. It just depends. Sometimes I just break into a song, and I have an accompanist that I can take with me. She's great, and then I use tracks. So any opportunity I can use music. And I write songs too. I write kind of crazy songs. But people enjoy that. And I think it just adds one more element of entertainment in a presentation.
Why is public speaking the #1 fear in America?
That's a really good question, because give me a stage and I love it. I've always loved it.
Is it because you're an extrovert, or have you always been an extrovert? Do you think of yourself as an extrovert?
I am. I'm shy too, though. It's funny. I guess I'm a balance of both. And but I do love to perform. I just do, whether it's speaking, singing, writing, that's a performance. And I enjoy all of it. So why not combine all these talents in a program? And one of my favorite speeches you helped me with is called "Don't Throw Tomatoes at My Field of Dreams." And it's what I learned in my daddy's tomato field. That's not a big, huge place, a tomato field, but the takeaways are amazing. You know what to cull. You might have a good tomato, but there's a better one. So get rid of the good and get the really good tomato. People like simplicity. They want to walk away with something they can wrap their head around. And that's what I try to do.
And yet that's a lesson for life, right?
It is.
What are the lessons you've told your children?
Oh, well, my son, who I told you just finally graduated from college,
Yes.
I'd say, don't kill your parents and don't put flowers on our grave, please, graduate. So he finally did, and he stuck it out, and I'm proud of him. I told my children to balance their lives. There's nothing to me more powerful than balance. Whether you can dress up or dress down, and please be the same. Always be the best version of yourself, and keep finding that best version. And be good to your parents.
Yes, always be good to your parents. Especially when they get old and go to a nursing home and need attention. Jane, I'm intrigued to learn more from you about the art of sharing and performing. Tell me first, what is the difference between a humorist and a comedian?
Comedians have a quick one-liner. A humorist would tell a story, and it might be 4 minutes. It might be a story within a story, but it's more of a takeaway and a life lesson that's maybe told through something very common and simple. But the comedian, and I love comedians, I love their quick wit and their humor, I love that. I think a good speaker uses both. Stories within stories, or just a story, and then a quick one-liner that throws everybody. I love those. I'm a better storyteller, so I'm always looking for the funny little takeaway one-liners.
What is it that people tell you after a speech? When they come up, shake your hand, say thank you very much for being with us. What is it they tell you about what they got from the speech?
Well, I love that because I love people saying to me, thank you for sharing that. And you know, from speaking, stuff just pops in your head. And you think, should I say that? And every now and again, I'll just throw out something like, do you need to forgive somebody? Forgive them. There's somebody in here that's struggling with forgiveness. And it throws everybody. But in my heart, I know there's somebody in that room that needs to hear that message. And then sometimes I'll say, be good to yourself. Do something unusual. You know, some of you are just too down on yourselves. Every time someone says, that was for me. So I'm being intuitive to my audience, and that's another mark of a good speaker. To read the audience extremely well, know when you're losing them, know when you've got them, and be able to say things in your heart you know that somebody really needs to hear. It's really an honor.
And that's called the skill of awareness, being intuitive, being in touch with how they're feeling, where they are every minute during your presentation. One of the, I always tell people when they ask about public speaking or professional speaking, I say, you know, I went from people saying that was a wonderful speech, you're a good speaker, to someone saying, you caused me pain today, and I thank you for that. In other words, reminding someone of a truth that you have to come in touch with, or acknowledging something in your life and then dealing with it. You know, sort of the difference between problem solving and solution finding. A really good speaker helps people find solutions, right?
Right.
That's what's in it for me, enlightened self-interest.
Yes, that's a calling. That's truly a calling. And I'll tell you, some of the best speakers are ministers. If you sit there and you can see the people, like I'm in the choir, our church is really small, but when the minister says, I have a story, everybody just does
Everybody
this
pays
number.
attention.
And they love stories.
Yes.
Especially if there's something you can remember to use then and start right then in your own life. So those are the things that I feel so blessed, seriously, to be able to, the people want to hear me. And I've had situations even during the pandemic where I went to make everybody laugh and I noticed immediately they were grieving. They had loss. So I took my speech and went completely in another direction. I was not going to pull them into my funny world. I was going to enter into their world with grace, and I was going to be philanthropic with their feelings. I wasn't going to demand this. I went with them. And you know, that is just being, again, intuitive.
You know, storytelling is such a skill. There are people who actually teach how to put together stories and how to deliver those stories. I asked Norman Vincent Peale one time, who wrote the foreword for my first book. He was 93 at the time, and I asked him. You know, he wrote the book, the Power of Positive Thinking, was one of the best books in terms of sales and distribution in history. And I asked him, what is the secret to his success? And he said, if you really look at my book, every page has a point and it's wrapped with a story. And if you analyze my speeches, every point I make is wrapped with a story, because stories just draw people in. They identify with that story. What in your mind makes a good story? How does one develop a good... Every person has a story, yes?
True.
The question is, some know how to articulate it, some don't. Some know how to relate it to others, some don't. So in your mind, what does it take to write a good story, develop a good story, deliver a good story?
I think you have to be totally vulnerable and look at your life. And when I tell my signature story, and it's about the struggle of being labeled, of growing up in a tenant house. My daddy didn't finish the 10th grade, but he had a work ethic, and thank God I got that work ethic. My mother was funny, so I got humor from her.
And your grandmother had a gun.
Yeah, that's right.
Yes.
And she'd shoot us if we didn't behave. No, she
Yes.
wasn't like that at all.
Yes.
But I think you have to be totally able to show people what's inside of you, the good, the bad, and the ugly. And I think being vulnerable, and then you give other people permission to be vulnerable. Like I told you about my son, I love my son to pieces, but you know, taking so long to finish college has been very difficult. And sometimes I'll just launch into that, along with my signature story.
Why did it take him so long?
He's terribly ADHD and didn't want to be on the medication. Now you talk about hard parenting. When you love a child and you know they have a situation going on, very smart, but when you're not focused, intelligence doesn't matter if you're not focused. And we had to wait for him to get the memo, and it took a long time, but we love him. And you know, and I really prayed about it, Nito, and I felt in my heart, quit nagging him. You're gonna lose your relationship. What's more important, a piece of paper or a relationship? Relationship wins every time.
What did he major in?
Political science and business.
Good for him.
Yes, and he's on the right track now. But we had to be patient. You know, I think children are born with natures, and you don't change it as much as steer it. So you have to be patient with that. So I'll tell that when I speak. I have funny stories about him.
You have his permission to tell that
No,
story?
I don't care. They, I paid for your college. I'm going to talk about it.
If he ever finds out, he's going to tell your grandmother she's going to get that gun out. Jane, you know what? Your story, your life story, is so powerful because it is encouraging. Society is filled with people who have ADD or dyslexia or ADHD, or other challenges. And for you to say, I had all of this, and I made myself get into the Miss South Carolina pageant and Miss America pageant because I wanted to be fit, and I wanted to be smart, and I wanted to articulate my message, and I wanted to prove to everybody I am good at what I do. That is such a powerful story. But it also begs the question, what is it that happened within you to give you the momentum, the initiative to say, I will do that? I would suggest most people probably will not do that. They'll get in the corner, sit in the dark, and woe is me. But you chose to rise above it. What was the cause of that?
Well, to be totally honest, I'm a student of people, and there are people in my family that I felt like were not mentally healthy, my siblings. And I looked at them, and I love them, but I'm not going to be like them. In any kind of negative dysfunction, it stopped with me, and I'm not going to go there. My brother, bless his heart, he has a drug problem, and it's very sad, and he's an older person, and my sister had insecurities. And I just looked at them, and I wanted to bring honor to my family. And my mother, when she passed away, held my hand and said, you've been a good child, thank you. And I live on that. I live on that, and I appreciate that. But I want to show people, yes, you can. Don't let anybody define who you are at all. Don't let your past infiltrate your future, and your rear view mirror is small for a reason. Put it in the past. Let's go this way. That's what I like to tell people through humor, my writing, singing, the whole package is what I love to share.
Jane, I hope you speak to a lot of young people.
I do.
A lot of high schools, colleges. That's a message that ought to be embedded in their psyche, in their heart, in their soul. There's so many of them. I don't know why, whether it's media, or social media, or it's other elements that enter their life that cause them to feel lesser than. But this kind of messaging is believable. It's real. And I hope you speak to a lot of them.
I speak to whomever calls me. If I can possibly do it, I will. I love speaking to youth. I love when they come up to me and say, I've never heard that. I mean, I'm speaking to my younger self. Do you ever do that?
Of course.
What would I say to my younger self? Has anybody ever said to me, you don't have to be chained to your past at all. You don't have to be stuck in the tenant house. I mean, you can rise above that. You can be anything you want to be, but you got to work for it, and you got to believe in yourself and have the passion to do it. And that's the message.
I love your growth mindset. I love your positive attitude. And I love the fact that you have dedicated your life and your skill and your talent to help others along the pathways of life. Jane, we're delighted to have you on Side by Side, and I wish for you greatness in all of your goings and all your comings. Thank you for being here.
It's been a pleasure and an honor.
Funding for Side by Side with Nito Cobain is made possible by
Here's to those that rise and shine, to friendly faces doing more than their part, and to those who still enjoy the little things. You make it feel like home. Ashley Home Store. This is home.
The Bud Group is a company of everyday leaders making a difference by providing facility solutions through customized janitorial, landscape, and maintenance services.
Coca-Cola Consolidated is honored to make and serve 300 brands and flavors locally. Thanks to our teammates. We are Coca-Cola Consolidated, your local bottler.